meeting to order of the Board of Directors on Wednesday, February 20th at 6:30 p.m. Let's have the roll call, please.
Director Moore?
Here.
Director Scobie?
Here.
Director Wilson?
Here.
Director Morrison?
Here.
Director Collison?
Pitch the call stand for the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you. Lovely here. So let's go ahead and start with the adoption of the agenda. Move to approve. Second, the agenda for Director Morrison first. Director Scope second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. So we're done. Let's go to recognitions and presentations.
Very pleased tonight to recognize Tina Helm for her 25 years of service in the Cameron Park Community Services District. Actually, it's been a little bit longer, but I think it was 25 years ago that Tina became a permanent employee. And, you know, what's so striking nowadays is that there's a lot of people don't have that kind of longevity with an organization. So I think that the relationships that Tina has in the community is really important to the district, and so we're really pleased to celebrate her tonight. A lot has changed in the last 25 years. I think that we have a community center and an aquatic facility, and the lagoon became chlorinated, and the office has changed probably 3 or 4, but quite a few times. A lot of different general managers. So, but anyway, we're pleased to be here tonight with her, and I'm going to turn it over to the board if the board would like to say something, and then we've got you know, a gift for her as well. And when she comes up, we want to get introduced to her game that she has with her.
Director, would you like to start? Would you like to make a comment?
I'll start. I met Tina back when my kids were very small. I signed them up for basketball and whatever else was going on over here at CSC. And Tina was always there, always helpful, always knew what was going on. It was just fantastic. And to see her here today, my head's swimming 25 years. And I remember going over to the fire station. That's where our office was, that little rec office, and walking up that wooden ramp and going in. It was just, I'm just amazed. And now we're here in our community center, and I think it's fantastic. 25 years is certainly, I've never seen a job in 25 years. Congratulations.
Well, I can't say all that because I've only been here 6 years. But since I came up here, I see you helping everyone you can help, even when you really don't feel like it. I know it does. But we're appreciative that you're here, and we hope you stay. I won't say another 25 years. That's kind of pushing it. Okay.
I needed to find a document to prove or not prove that a neighbor hadn't paid a fee for an improvement on their property. And so it was my first visit to that wonderful temporary behind Station 89. And I think Lyle got hired that day. I mean, he was brand new. I spoke with Tammy. She said, well, if you want that document, it's probably in one of those sheds. And in Rantina, in a pair of shorts, and I'll never forget it, because I worked Parks and Rec, put myself through undergraduate and graduate school. So to see the recreation supervisor interaction in and out. I think he had a bag of balls with you. That was my first recollection of you. And so, congratulations. People do not stay 25 years anywhere anymore. It is an incredible achievement. And the district is just so far better for you having been here and guiding all these children and adults, students and the rest, for all these years. So congratulations, Tina. Lucky to have you.
Yes,
I want to thank you for your humor and the breadth of
a
the
program.
program. You guys hear me? I'll speak up.
I want to thank you for your humor and the breadth of programs, and having a 5-year-old, he's really enjoyed this one program, so thank you.
Tina, thank you. I've known you for 18 years. Thank you for your dedication and passion, because that's what makes me successful. And thank you for the events that you've built that have now become the fabric of Campbell Park. So thank you for all of that.
Photo op.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank everyone. I've enjoyed my 25 years. Yes, a lot of things have changed. I still remember when I did my swim run tryout to be a lifeguard at Cameron Park Lake, and it was freezing cold, and my toes were numb by the time I was done. And they had just chlorinated the lagoon the day before, or week before, and there were lots of little dead polywogs all over the ocean. So, yes, things have changed, and also it's nice that the community, I enjoy the members of the community, and it's very nice to see some of them who I haven't seen for a while, and I actually remember their names, which is amazing. And also that I now have kids that work for me that they're coming in with their children to come and utilize the facility and participate in programs. So that's very appreciative too. Thank you. And I would also like to introduce my family. This is my son, Marcus, my mother, Anya, my brother, Dan, my older brother, Gordon, and his girlfriend, Lisa.
Mike, come on up, and staff, come on up, and Greg. George, come on up over here. This is from Mike. Some people remember the CSP. Here. Pull it up, come on. Pull it up. Ellie, come on up here. There we go. Come on, big man. Goes out in the newsletter, right? Thanks. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Say one more, 2, 3. And family, you want to come please come on up? Yeah, here, she's going to be family.
on to the approval of the conformed agenda. Consent agenda, is there any changes on the conformed agenda? Do we have a vote?
I want to pull the,
This is a conformed agenda.
where are we first? Oh, the conform, sorry.
So you can, so everything's on the consent calendar, so you can
Go ahead and approve.
approve everything on the consent calendar.
Okay, so it's on January 16th.
Right, so I want to pull conform.
So typically, you approve everything that's on the consent calendar, which is items 4 through 6.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Director Morrison, you would like to pull something?
Check register, please.
That'll be item 5B.
Yes.
Anything else? Any other changes? Okay, can I have a motion please for approval with the change with
Motion to
5B?
approve the consent agenda with the one change to pull the check register item 5B.
Second?
I'll say.
Okay, Jim, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we move to open forum. Members of the public may speak on any item not on the agenda that falls within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors. Comment during the open forum is limited to 4 minutes per person. Public testimony will be received on each agenda item as it is called. Principal party on each side of the issue where applicable is allocated 10 minutes to speak. Individual comments are limited to 4 minutes, except with the consent of the board. Individuals shall be allowed to speak on a item only once. The board reserves the right to waive and said rules by majority vote. For the public's information, we are now taking email requests for future notifications of community services completed. We have now opened forum. Anybody like to speak? On any non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, then we will go on to general business. Item number 7, and we will discuss item 5B. Director Morrison?
Right, I'm getting there. So, I just had some questions on maybe some of these are routine items, but I just have some concerns and questions. So if I could just go check by check, page by page. So on the first page, item number 1, dated January 2nd, 2019, it is an Umpqua Bank check in the amount of $694.17. Credit card, is that what it is, credit card, merchant fees?
That's correct.
That's correct. And I'm trying to remember, Ms. Nybauer, if you had gone out, and I think that you have, to seek the best merchant rate.
Yes, in fact, we are no longer with F1, we are now with Umpqua.
With Umpqua Forever. And you negotiated that rate.
I did not negotiate that rate. I don't know if the business office has negotiated that rate.
So I'd like to bring that forward. I did work in banking, with American Bank for years, and rates are negotiable, and just seeing that, we do so many credit cards now, we have a credit card processor, which I know is just really going to help us so much in that front office. If we could go back to Umpqua and have them take a look at our merchant rates.
So when you're saying, Director Morrison, you'd like staff to look at the rate for the Umpqua
Right,
credit
the
card,
points that we're paying for each transaction.
and also bring that back to the board and see if it's negotiable.
Yes.
To get a better rate.
Yep. It's always negotiable. we do business, we've done business with them for years, and we should be able to present the case for a lower rate.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
And
if
then,
you have that down, something
Yes,
to
I
bring back and forth.
yeah. And then on page 4, the very last item, dated January 10th, 2019, the All-Star Rent bill for $321.81 for the rental for our Christmas tree lights. That's probably the second half of the bill, which means we probably paid $650 to put the lights up and take the lights down on the trees.
That's correct.
So we need to figure that out. We need to get someone to donate that service to us. We need to find a list. One of the automotive companies, you know, in our community, somebody's got to be able to get us a cherry picker or something to help us. That's a lot of money, and we don't generate any revenue from that. And we serve cocoa, and it's a wonderful event, and it looks wonderful, and you can see it from the highway, and it's really been a nice addition to our community, but we can't afford that.
That's a question too, because isn't this a chamber and a
Yes.
partnership with
Yep.
the Cameron Park Community Foundation? Do they pitch in for any of the expenses for that?
No,
So,
So maybe we should
we're
also
going to take a look at that, if we could, please. Sorry. So we'll figure it out. There's got to be someone in the community. And then on the next page, page 5, really the second and third item for C&H Motor Parts. Just the simple parts replacement, right? For our vehicles. Is that when we? Yes. Right, parts replacement, okay. And then a couple items down, the Comcast software. That's a one-time fee, the $5,900 for our new CCNR.
That's correct.
And we're happy, we like it, it's working, we're trained. One-time fee, are there yearly fees with that?
Yes, there are.
There'll be an annual subscription.
Do we know how much?
I do not, off the top, I do not. We will report that.
Okay, great, thank you. But I know this is the initial investment, and we're really, bringing us into this century to really, so I'm looking forward to those reports, see how it's working. The next item is right below it, the Delage Land and Financial Services copier lease. Is that for our big, is that the monthly payment for that big copier in our office?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That doesn't seem too outrageous, but no. Any opportunity to purchase, or is that not what anybody does anymore? I don't know what people do anymore with office equipment. Shorts.
We can look at that.
Great. That's a couple $1,000s a year, to make the investment. I don't know anymore if it's worth it.
Yeah, that's what maintenance and.
Right, there's all of that involved. I don't know, but if we could take a look at that, that would be fantastic. And then DSA Technologies, 2 down from that, Cisco switch replacement. Was that something in the office?
That was at the fire station.
Okay. And obviously a needed part for, okay, great. I think I had a couple more. On page 10, the very top item, Hunt and Sons, we've got a bill for $891.92 and then $1,163.25 for fuel. Which fuel is that?
That's
Is that
fire
for weight?
Excuse me?
Which fuel is that?
That's for the fire department fuel.
On-site use, then on-site?
Community, we've got sensitive populations. My dad had COPD and my son was born early, so they both had lung issues. But at the same time, we have a backlog of fuel in Cameron Park. It's the horrific couple of fires in California recently really highlighted. And unfortunately, the sensitive populations, in my opinion, are going to be the most vulnerable in case of big fire. It's going to be really, they're the ones who have the hardest time escaping. So all of this made me really re-examine the ordinance. And the proposal is to move it from November to December, which is very simple and clean, and I can understand the logic for that. It also turns out that December is, I've been looking at the data, December is not a trustworthy month for having a lot of burn days the first 2 weeks of December. There's going to be more winds, and it's going to be becoming more and more so. So I actually strongly feel that this ordinance should be 2 weeks in November, 2 weeks in December, and the 2 weeks in April. Because when you combine the November and the December, you might be looking to get 2 weeks out of that anyway, with the way patterns are changing. And again, I understand that the smoke is uncomfortable, but I think for the sake of the ultimate safety of the community, for now, we need to up the number of burn days from what is now about 20% of those months. And tell me if you need me to explain the math. I'm asking to move it up to 27%. So it's not really that big of a change, but we really restricted the burn days, and I think we just need to up it a little bit, because in the reality, at the end of the day, when you have to go to AQMD, you're not going to get a lot of those days anyhow. So I hope that makes sense. But what I'm saying is that I want to not just move it from November to December, but I want to see it November and December. Thank you.
Director Wilson, can I ask you a question? In your research, did you find how many burn days during a drought year there were?
Yeah, I looked at 20 years of data from 2018 back.
And what did you find in a drought year? What was the...
So I didn't necessarily toggle it with the drought years, but I have the information which I can share with you, so let me think about it.
So basically the last 7 years.
Right. So like I said, I saw that the last 4 years started to be really, with November's, really up and down and inconsistent. And then December's were really surprisingly so I'm not answering your question, but just that December's were surprisingly a few number of allowable burn days.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I have the information to share with you.
Director Kirby, did you know?
Yeah, the way I see this resolution is I got the packet that was provided to me, and my discussion with Jill before coming here provided me with the information I needed. And I think there's two issues here. One issue is moving the date in order to try to facilitate the burning that is now unable to occur in November. And then the other issue that Felicity and others are bringing up is expansion of burn days. I see those as two separate issues. So if we want to look at expansion of burn days, I think that should go back to the fire committee and start there with that topic in mind, and keep this topic of just switching from one month to the other month and seeing if that's something that we want to do. But I think the expansion would be something that should be taken up separately.
Director Morrison, do you want to...
Having not been available to attend the last fire committee, and I have not heard tape, I would ask Director Carlson more to flesh out, if any of what Sylvia is asking for happened in that meeting.
So what happened in that meeting, and Director Carlson, you can is that we had the discussion about air quality issues, and we had a discussion about if December was really as good a month or better than November. From my perspective, I do not want to expand the burn days because of the air quality issues. Down in Sacramento County, they've banned any kind of burning with appliances. That, I feel, would probably be the next step for our county if the air quality issues continue to get worse than banning those fire
because it's a drought, because the wetter years are not as prevalent as the drought years. So that was discussed, amongst all of us. And then we discussed with the community partner what his options were, and he said that he would absolutely be satisfied with December. Of course, he liked that mandate. The fire department also said, of course, for fuel reduction, they would like to have more burning because more people can obviously then reduce fuel. But in the end, during that committee meeting, we determined that December was the best way to go instead of expanding. Because I think you're right, Director Scoggin. If we were to go and talk about expanding burn days, I think we need to go to El Dorado County or all the districts to talk to them about how they determine when you can burn and those kind of things and get some more data. I'd like to answer your question, Director Morrison. So without us voting on it, the effect of the weather changes, that the burn days have effectively been decreased to something more like an average of 8 days, 6 days in November. So 20 years ago, it was more like you might really get 14 burn days, but now effectively it's like 8 days. So while on the surface it looks like voting to expand the burn days, when you actually look at the number of days that you are allowed to burn, it would be more like bringing it back up to what it actually was when the ordinance first came into place. Does that make sense?
Yes, if there weren't burn days allowed, but if there is all 14 days of burn days allowed, then you actually have 20 days. So that would expand.
So you're asking to possibly expand to an additional month rather than moving from November to December, but because of the climate change and the weather changes in the drought years. Why, would you agree,
We need you to speak in your microphone.
would you agree to keeping it as it is, or do you think December is necessary?
So,
I think December is necessary.
so again, after looking at the AQMD data after the last meeting, I realized that the effective actual number of burn days is really much less than was originally allowed in the ordinance. On paper, it looks the same, but, and I understand what Margaret's saying too, but I would personally, I feel very strongly actually that we should have an additional 2 weeks because of the fact that both November and December, chances are there's going to be not very many burn days, and we have a backlog of fuel.
So I think we've had the November date, what, since 2000, I think, is that the date? I almost had a heart attack twice because neighbors on either side of me were burning. I'm sorry, it is absolutely terrifying to me. So I am not in favor of expanding the burn days. And I think we need to talk about the additional services. I know that we've talked in the committee meeting about how fire possibly reopening some of these, the bins that were closed down because people were being idiots and dumping garbage as opposed to green waste. If we can work with Waste Connections to have more bins around town for excessive green waste. And I think Waste Connections has really stepped up to the plate as our partner in having the additional green waste pickup. I know I really take advantage of it. I'm not going to burn. I've got a wooden house. And I've just been terrified when my neighbors have burned. I'm sorry, it's terrifying. And I understand acre and less than an acre. And
Don't you feel December would be better than November?
yeah, I don't have a problem with December.
I would also not be in favor of expanding burn days. I just feel like there could possibly be a drought and that would need more burning. I do agree with Director Morrison, we should look at additional services and discuss that with waste management. I think that's a terrific idea. Makes it easier for people to, and especially if we're going to do a lead abatement for improved laws, people are going to have to really manage their waste much better.
I'm one of those, so.
That's a perfect point. We're asking people to abate their properties. We are making people more aware of it. The general manager is talking about this on every single monthly article that she's writing. We have our CAL FIRE partners. We have a fire state council that's being created. We are hiring more staff in our weed abatement team. I think we need to manage our problem as effectively as possible.
So I have talked to Elron's proposal. I think that having the greenways dumpster at the fire station is kind of problematic, and so that's why it was pulled. But we can work with them for some strategic locations, so maybe Heron Park Place, maybe might be able to close it at night. That would be good. Also, I think that Elron's proposal is looking at a new recycling center, and if that comes about, they said that they could do greenways at that site. So those are great. Those seem to be low-hanging fruit with Elron's proposal.
So, Rick, is there any more discussion, and what is the will of the board? Do we have a motion to read the ordinance and to carry it on to the next month's essay hearing? I will make a motion to,
My reader, while everybody can think that.
why don't we go ahead and read the ordinance, and then we'll make a motion following the reading of the ordinance.
Okay, this is proposed ordinance 2019.03.20 of the Board of Directors of the Cameron Park Community Services District, March 20th, 2019. Ordinance to restrict outdoor residential burning within the boundaries of Cameron Park Community Services District. The Board of Directors of the Cameron Park Community Services District hereby ordains as follows. Whereas in March of 1999, mandatory refuge collection program began in Cameron Park, allowing for the unlimited refuge collection for residents inclusive of green waste. And whereas on November 16, 2000, the Cameron Park Community Services District Board of Directors approved Ordinance 2000-01 restricting outdoor burning on residential lots to the first 2 weeks in April and the first 2 weeks of November. Whereas Ordinance number 2000-01 was approved by the District Board of Directors to help promote better air quality in the community. And whereas since 1999, Gale Road Disposal, also known as Waste Connections, has expanded its green waste collection program to include several low and no-cost green waste collection services. And whereas outdoor burning in November has become problematic for 2 reasons: burning restrictions due to poor air quality as a result of wildland fires in Northern California, and drier fall season. And now, therefore, be it set forth that the Board of Directors of the Cameron Park Community Services District prohibits residential outdoor burning on residential parcels less than 1 acre in size within the boundaries of the Cameron Park Community Services District, except for the first 2 weeks in April and the first 2 weeks in December within the regular guidelines for permits and permissive burn days. Passed and adopted by the Board of Directors, Cameron Park Community Services District at the regularly scheduled meeting, proposed to be 20th day of February 2019.
So I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance 2019.03.20, ordinance to restrict outdoor residential burning within the boundaries of Cameron Park Community Service District.
So the recommended action, just to be clear, is to receive, discuss, and provide the first reading, which we have done. And then the second recommended action is to schedule the second reading of the ordinance and adoption for the March 20th, 2019 Board of Directors meeting.
So I amend it
to schedule the second reading of the ordinance and adoption for the March 20th, 2019 Board of Directors.
do I have a second?
So let me ask you a question. And then we will discuss taking it back to committee.
They won't look back in committee. So what we'll do is,
Staff will come back with.
yeah, because because this is an ordinance, there are some special things that we have to do, and it includes publicizing it in the newspaper, and then posting it out there. The full ordinance is posted out in our lobby. So you're actually not approving the ordinance tonight, you're proposing that we're going to set a public hearing for next month.
For this same board, at the regular board meeting.
At the regular board meeting.
And staff will come back with some, possibly come back with some information from.
Yeah, if there's additional information.
Waste collection.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and if there's any questions that come up in the meantime, when I'm new here, I think I've got a gentleman who has called me today about wanting, to know about this, and so I'll call him back.
Yes.
So, anyway, yeah, we're setting the hearing, and we'll kind of do the same thing again,
Yes.
but instead of setting a hearing date, we will actually be considering the ordinance.
And at that point, it would be approved or not.
Amended or whatever.
So, we have four, we need a second. I need a second.
Okay.
Okay, Director Morrison, second. All those in favor of this motion? Aye. All those not in favor?
Nope.
And Director Wooten, are you abstaining or did you?
I said aye.
You said aye. That's 4-1.
That's to
To move it to next month and have a hearing. And for the staff to bring back information about waste disposal. Okay, thank you. Just, directors, thank you for that very good discussion. And thank you, Director Carlson, for bringing in some more data. And I think that also this would move forward with this ordinance to hear what's going on for the next session in March. Okay, let's move on to item number 10, approve resolution 2019-02 for sole source purchase of fire engines.
So, we're very excited to be proposing a specific fire truck for acquisition. In the mid-year budget adjustments, the board did approve an allocation of money to acquire a new fire engine. We're coming back to you with a recommendation to sole source this engine, which Neil, and it's because the fire engine is uniquely equipped for Cameron Park and kind of the nature of our community that has that wildland urban interface, short wheelbase, large water tanks, things like that. So I'm not going to speak too much of this. There's also, we're asking that you consider our financing options, and we're recommending our lowest, our financing option, our best deal, we're recommending our best deal, which is Uncle Bank. So, and Sherry is here with Chief Judge Gaines, gosh, I just lost it tonight. Chief Judge Gaines has done a lot of the legwork on it. Judge works for Chief Moran, and she's been very involved in this. So if you have any questions about this specific, I would turn them over to Chief Moran.
Chief Moran, do you want to say any words?
If you have any questions, they did a good job of the report. It's pretty specific. So it talks about the special requirements of this engine and makes it really, like I said, we have these engines around the state for similar communities, and it has the ability to pump and roll, so it actually can drive while they're pumping water, which is, fits right into the wildland urban interface of Cameron Park. And just as, Jill described, it can handle the narrow roads and the tight turning radiuses and the steep driveways. So it's really the engine. It's also an engine we currently have, so it'll match up with the equipment that fits in there. And it's all going to be seamless transition of putting our same equipment in there. So it's the engine we need. So.
Great, well, let's go ahead and I'm sure the directors may have some questions. Who would like to ask Director Seeley?
So, did you say that the equipment that's on the engine that this is replacing can be moved to the new engine?
There will be some equipment, like
we're going to be outfitting the new engine with new equipment, but there will be some equipment. We're going to make every effort to purchase only what we need. There will be some equipment that we can move over, but yet the compartment sizes and everything else is going to be, the same. So it's really important. You don't realize that until you're looking at a breathing apparatus that's in here, you need to fit it over here, and a different engine is not going to fit.
And is this new engine, with its tight turning radius and agility, let's say, is that better than the one we have now, or equivalent?
It's the same.
It's the same?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. It's proven. It's proven. It works.
great.
Same company, correct?
Yes.
Not
Yes.
tired. Not tired.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the other one's tired. It's Smeel, same manufacturer. Yeah.
Director Wooten?
No.
Director Morrison?
Okay.
Can't wait. Very excited.
Director Crowe?
Won't have to, so they're not gonna take you for a ride.
So I have Chief Morantz, I have some questions. The other engines are, the one we're retiring is 13 years old, is that the?
Yes.
One, okay. And then how old are the other engines that we currently have?
So I don't have that right in front of me, but that is in the capital improvement plan, the master plan. It actually outlines the year they were purchased and then when when it's recommended to be replaced. So.
Just 10 years, really?
Yeah, exactly, 10 years, but we actually have a little spreadsheet that breaks all that down, so. Yeah, we do have a type 3 that's 25 years old.
25 months?
That'll be our next one, that's going to be our next goal.
So because the type 3 is different though.
Well, the older engines are the ones that we're renting out and bringing in, and so it's due to be replaced because the CAL FIRE fleet, that same engine, we're replacing them all because of some issues that we've made the necessary replacements on this engine or repairs to keep it safe, but it needs to be replaced next. It's old.
So one of the conversations, and I don't think you were in the last fire committee with Chief Gaines, was that the cost of this fire engine is lower than a lot of the other costs of the fire engines that have been purchased. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So I think he gave you an example of what Eldorado Hills and Eldorado County purchased, the other engines that they purchased, I believe he did. Is that what you're referring to?
He did talk a little bit about it, but I didn't know if
Yes. So you can order an engine any which way, and there are some engines that just cost more, and there's extra things you can add on there. And we have spec'd out the most efficient engine that's going to get us what we need, but we're not putting any bells and whistles on it. It's not, there to look pretty, it's there to do the job. And but there are other engines that are similar that they cost more because there are only so many manufacturers out there, and they know that fire departments have to purchase these engines. And so they don't, like Smeel doesn't just farm out their engines to all these companies or stores. They build a contract with a fire department, and they're like, what do you want? And you order it how you want it. And there's no other options. So this engine is the best bang for our buck. This is what we need, and it's the best deal. And you guys know, like Captain Winger, we actually sent him back after you guys voted to approve us to move forward, and he pressured them and even got them down even more, so it was going to go up 20,000 after January 1st. And this includes 3 trips because our employees have to go back and inspect it 3 times, and this company pays for these trips to do those inspections, and also they deliver it, from back east. So that's all inclusive, and he bartered them down pretty good, and even the interest rate is 3.49, so pretty good.
Great, and I do have a question on the interest rate. It's 7 years. Is that typical financing, or could we go to 10, knowing that these engines are reliable and will go at least 10 years?
They only offered, and it's pretty consistent that these financing companies are offering a 5 and a 7, they'll even, I think, even do a 3, but 5 and 7, 7's pushing it out. I haven't seen any more than that. I mean, if you want to explore that, the interest rate's going to go up, it's going to cost more in the long run.
Yeah, no, I don't. I just didn't think they probably did offer anything over 7 years.
So I haven't seen any, but,
I think then the last question I have is on the actual
payment, which we do have in our budget. And so there's numbers on here that says 227,077, but our down payment, I think, in our budget is 97. Can you speak to that?
I'll let Vicki speak to that, because she and I talked about that. Can you speak to that? She and I were trying to reconcile this with our mid-year budget, and we were also purchasing pickup trucks and things like that, and also there was equipment costs in there, so I'm not sure if we pieced that together or not, to be really honest.
Are you talking about?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Margaret, can you give?
It's on the camera front WUI pricing page, which is the third page in and item 10.
Right, no, I know that it is, but I don't think we budgeted 227 for down payment. We budgeted,
It's a chassis prepayment.
Yes, and no, we did not budget that. We budgeted $96,000.
But that's the financing amount, so you're financing 100%, is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, so we're making that's our first payment to the bank. And
There was two options, you're right, there was one option where we actually, the district actually made the payment, down payment, there's the other one where the financing company will make that down payment and finance it, and it's all 100% financed. So there was, I think that if that's the option we're going for, the district actually won't be making that prepayment, but that's why we presented those options to you. If you do make the prepayment, obviously your balance will be less, your payments will be lower, and so.
okay, great, thank you. That's what the 227
Yes.
is, the loan company's prepayment.
Would offer that 100% financing.
Yes, that's correct.
So we're going to have to discuss if we want to make the down payment or not, and depending on the financing, so, right? And that will come to the budget and admin committee at that time. All right, thank you, that was on the list. So, on the terms and conditions, it says here that the lease shall be considered a municipal lease purchase and qualify for tax exempt status. So we are paying taxes, sales taxes of $41,000.
Yes.
Correct. That's still, we still have to pay that.
Yes. Correct.
Just checking there.
Okay.
Can you explain what a takedown is? Expiration of facility, takedown shall be allowed in amounts greater than $100,000. That's
Where-
prepayment, that would be on attachment 10B, page 3 of the terms and conditions.
I've done some research on that, and basically what that is that it's a prepayment, or what you and I would call a prepayment on our mortgage. So it's an additional payment that is made on the mortgage. So if you wanted to pay it off early or pay an additional payment in mid-cycle, then an additional payment as in a fixed payment, but an additional contribution.
Okay, so it says here that you wouldn't be able to pay less than $100,000.
That's correct.
Good to know. And security deposit, do we pay that or does the lender pay that?
We pay that, and it's refundable. With long, yes, long terms in that.
Okay, so depending on if we make a down payment or not, basically we're looking at $100,000 a year for 7 years.
Yes.
Okay, directors, we're looking at $100,000 a year for 7 years. I think those are all my questions. Thank you.
I just had a few more to clarify. So the engine and equipment is a total of 613. Is that correct?
No, just the engine.
This is just the engine.
And the plan would be to purchase the equipment in the next fiscal year. We would start purchasing probably in July, because this engine's going to take a while to build. It'll be, in the next fiscal year, so.
And that we estimated about 50,000, correct?
No, it's 136 or something. But, so, like I said, we budget for it. Anything we can save on, if there's stuff on the engine that we don't need to purchase, and you guys know this, we're not gonna purchase it. So that's gonna be our high end, and then we'll try and cut that down as much as possible.
Okay, I asked that because it says on the pricing, equipment mounting and radio installation, which is only 11,000, it's not. And so that's what led me to ask the question if it included equipment.
There's specific equipment in the engine with the radio installation. Actually, when Chief Gaines was, and Captain Wayne were looking at this, it's gonna be cheaper to have the company do this, the radio installation, versus send it out to a radio facility and have them do it. So that they offered this at a discounted price.
So we send them the radios and
Yeah.
they install them for us.
Great.
That's included in the cost.
That's
Part of
part of that, yeah, 11,000, yeah.
Okay, so the cost of the radios are not in here, just the cost for them to install.
I would need to check on that. I believe that we probably, I don't know if there's anything, our radios, I don't know if that's really, I think we bought them because knowing Captain Langer and Chief Gaines, they would have added this into the cost if we had the first one safety on here. So I'm going to say this is just for the installation.
Okay, and then, so the financing here, I also asked that question about the down payment. So the down payment is actually coming from Quad Bank, correct? Yeah, so it's 100% finance, and they're just making a $200,000 payment up front, and then we have 7 years of that.
So the first payment would be, I think, like a year out, I believe, because they'll make the down payment. So it's going to be a year before that first payment is due.
Is this the budget and admin when this first came through, did they consider just paying for it out of the reserve fund?
Yes and no. Yes, because it is cash, and we don't want to deplete our general fund. And no, because it's basically going forward, we need to either raise revenues or use the rental money from the engines that are being reserved out to pay for the fire engines and equipment.
Those are all my questions, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so what's the will of the board, if you would like to make a motion? Oh, what? If anybody in the public would like to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing none, then we will take it back to the board. Any other discussion about the fire engine?
Make a motion. I'll say. I'd like to make the motion to approve Resolution 2019-02, which is a resolution to approve the purchase of Fire Engine 88 and grant the general manager authority to approve all necessary lease and purchase documents.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? 5-0 vote. You got your engine.
Very exciting.
Thank you for the very thorough report and the conversation, because that's very helpful. Thank you. All achieved.
A lot of work on both sides, I know, to get this negotiated deal. So great work, thank you very much.
Okay, next we have approved resolution 2019-03 to support El Dorado County efforts to improve fire district sustainability. Number 11.
This is also an issue, item that came up through the fire committee, Fire Emergency Services Committee, so the staff recommendation is supported. And Chief Lundgren spoke to this last month for you. The county is taking steps to coordinate conversations with the local fire agencies in El Dorado County to see if there are some cost-saving measures, efficiencies, ability to raise additional revenue to help the network of fire stations, fire districts in the county. There are a few rural fire districts that are struggling. We have a very robust mutual aid agreement amongst all the fire districts here, and it's important to Cameron Park to be included in these conversations for a couple of reasons. One, we rely on our neighbors. If we have a big event, or if they're the closest engine to an event that is occurring, they will be dispatched there. So that's part of the mutual aid agreement. The other reason why it's important to be a part of those conversations is that we want to preserve our level of service in Cameron Park. I mean, we are healthy, compared to other fire districts, but that's not to say that we couldn't use some help. I think that to be engaged is important because it can go both ways. We might have some deficiencies, but also we want to protect fire services in our community. So I stumbled so greatly, and I can tell I'm already starting to stumble. It's been a long day. I'll turn it over to Chief Lundgren, obviously, is well versed in this and can answer questions, and we can take it out to the public.
Yes, and I just want to make a statement too, because I think Chief Lundgren will be our representative from CAL FIRE on this committee. He's the one who will be speaking because of the contract that we have with them. But I think it's important for the board, or somebody from the board and the CSD just to be present, to be a seat at the table, to show that we're interested. And Don Ashton had asked in our last committee meeting if we take it back to our boards and show support. So what we're basically doing for the county is showing support by sitting there at the table. So that was mine. And then Chief Lundgren, do you want to add anything to that? Or take questions?
Yeah, no, I think Jill summed it up pretty well, and so did Margaret. It's nice that the county is taking some leadership in trying to look at the overall sustainability of the fire districts within El Dorado County. And there's actually 13 separate fire districts, not counting the city of South Dakota, which would make it 14. And that's kind of excluding what CAL FIRE does on our own on the state side. So we're just talking local government and municipal fire departments. So that's quite a few. And to be quite honest, not all of them are operating very efficiently, if you would. And some of them are struggling financially quite a bit. And I actually just had a different meeting with Don Ashton today on some other issues that we're dealing with. But he encouraged that Cameron Park made a step forward 22 years ago to start doing things a little bit more efficiently with this contract. So he said that to me that they were moving in the right direction a long time ago, and he's hoping that more districts follow that lead. Whether that lead is a contract with CAL FIRE like you have, which gives you more depth of resource and more ability to do things efficiently, or whether it's a consolidation with other fire departments. So there's a lot of talks going on in the county amongst the fire districts and the different chiefs on coming together. And so the county has recognized that that's an issue, and they're steering it, and they're trying to facilitate it and push it, which is absolutely the right thing to do, and ask boards to buy in on that and be a part of that. And it's also really good because some of the boards don't get along, to be honest with you, in the county, and some of the districts don't get along. But at the end of the day, the fire service does come together, but there are some issues. If they could come together further, it would be a good thing. There's a consolidation meeting going on February 28th, so next Thursday, up in Garden Valley on the Divide, which is the north part of our county, northwest part of our county, and that's a discussion to try to get the Garden Valley Fire Department, the Mosquito Fire Department, and the Georgetown Fire Department to come together. And one of the other hats that I wear under a contract is the Georgetown Fire Chief. And so that is a good talk that we're facilitating and trying to get them to come together to operate more efficiently. So that's kind of moving towards the county's plan. So we're excited. The time is right for these conversations, and it's the best use of public money to come together. So whether they're coming together on their own or they're coming together under a contract like you did, there's ways to say it. We talked about it a little bit before, but we're pretty far along in an RFP process with Rescue Fire Department, who's also considering being annexed by Eldorado Hills in an annexation, so two totally different things, but that's moving them forward and coming together also. And if they do contract with us, then that is going to facilitate some cost savings and some efficiencies with Cameron Park's contract, because we'll have two contracts right next door to each other. If the Georgetown contract also facilitates, and it doesn't move towards consolidation and it goes Schedule A with us like you have, that's another efficiency. Even though they're far from us, that would give us a second ambulance that we manage under the JPA contract, which gives us more depth of resource with paramedics to be able to share our paramedics. So either way, that would be good for them. What Georgetown does could benefit you or it could not. And so it's good to see them moving in that direction, and I think it's the right thing right now. So the other option that some of these departments have is hiring a fire chief and keep doing what they're doing individually, which is not anything that publicly I'm supporting, nor is the county supporting publicly. And Rescue, at their last board meeting last Wednesday night, made the decision that they're not going to move forward with hiring a fire chief, but they are going to move forward with exploring the option of annexation by Eldorado Hills, consolidation with Diamond Springs, or contract with Cal Fire. And so they're going to be coming to a head pretty soon, and it'll be interesting to see how that benefits Cameron Park. So that's kind of the overview. A lot going on in the county, but I think we're on the right track, and we really appreciate your support in having these discussions, and it's nice that the county's pushing everybody together.
Do the directors have any questions? Let's go ahead and go out to the public and then see if anybody has any questions or any comments.
I fully support what the county is doing with the fire departments. As you all know, I retired from Eldorado County Fire, the first consolidated fire district in the county. And I can tell you that I think the only thing that's going to save our county, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, is CAL FIRE. County Fire is in huge trouble if they do not get their tax initiative passed. The first thing they will do is take the rest of the health benefits away from the remaining retirees under age 65, which will leave a lot of my retiree friends either with big holes in their retirement checks or no health benefits at all. People are in trouble, and they have been in trouble, and I don't think consolidation of the districts is an answer, because I can tell you, if I had a crystal ball in 1989 when we first started our talks for Eldorado County Fire with my fire chief in Placerville, I probably wouldn't have gone along with it if I knew then what I knew now. Because I personally, my opinion is that it's not working. They're giving less service now than they gave when we consolidated. And I just think you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And as long as you have egos, and fire chiefs do have egos, ladies, and personalities, not you, and I don't mean any ego, but they do. But when fire chiefs, the guy with the white hat wants to be the leader, and they don't want to step down. And I can tell you that county fire, and I know this from the union president, is not at all on board with this plan, which kind of amazes me, because everybody needs to come together in this county and work together. But I hope the direction the county's going in is for this county to go Schedule A, because it's the only thing that's going to save this county and the fire service. And I do know what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment on this issue? Okay, moving back to the board with any kind of discussion.
So, I have a comment, and I think I spoke to the general manager about this. I understand the representation with the general manager and the board president, but I think that there should be a representative on the team from the fire committee. I think that the fire committee chair or the assistant chair, no matter what year we're in or wherever this is going to be, they're the one to know what's going on locally. They get advised as to what's happening within the district at the meetings by the fire chief, the assistant fire chief, or the battalion chief, or the fire marshal. And I just think that one more person should be added to that, the team that is notified, and that there be a fire committee representative at the table.
Okay, is there any other comments?
I think Holly has a point there, since the fire committee is dealing with, directly with our fire department. I would support any type of flexible language there that a board member, any board member, not specifically the president, attend.
So, one of the thought processes here was, just so you know, in the choosing the president, was that this could be years in the making, is this correct?
Right.
So, that would be the most stable position to follow through with going to this committee. I think.
And that makes sense, as a representative to the county,
Right.
but I just think fire committee representative should be included. And again, this could be 10 years from now.
Right. So, I mean, and hopefully it's not 10 years, that would be not good, but, we could certainly do also an alternative. You want to be able to make sure that the people who are going to the committee meeting is stable, so you have somebody there, so it's not any kind of confusion factor. But if we wanted to do an alternative, alternate, so.
Yeah, if the president
Or the
is
general
not
manager.
available to go, or the general manager is not available to go,
Yeah.
you want at least a couple of representatives.
So we could use the chair of the fire committee.
Yeah, no matter who that is.
But since we have a convention, we're using recently a convention of rolling our committee members. I'm thinking it might be better just to have it kind of like a LAFCO, a board member go and represent it, not necessarily state the title. It could be the fire committee chair, but it just needs to be a board member, just to have it more flexible. And in that case, if the fire committee chair rolls off, but we still want that person to go and represent our district, we have that opportunity. We wouldn't have our hands tied.
So how would you determine that for each meeting? Who would go and how would that be?
Oh, I'm thinking it'd be like we just appoint somebody from the board for that year, kind of like our LAFCO representative. So,
Why not just the board president?
Yeah,
I mean, the board president, my thought on it was that the board president can be busy, the general manager could be busy, fire committee chair.
Yeah,
So if you had a choice of at least the board president and the general manager and the fire committee chair, you would have stability throughout, no matter what the changes are. You've got board members being in their seats for 4 years. So to me, there's that stability there.
How would you word that language?
Well, I think, pull up the resolution here.
I'm sorry, and the fire chairs added.
Yeah, what we can do is, so, support appoints the board president to represent the district at meetings, appoints, we could add in, appoints an alternate as the chair of the fire committee, and supported by the fire chief and general manager. So you would just add that to the second bullet, that there is, we'll add language that adds an alternate as the chair of the fire committee.
Okay. So appoint the board president to represent the district meeting and
An alternate, and the fire,
Additionally,
additionally, the fire committee chair will serve as the alternate to the board president. Supported by the fire chief and general manager.
I have a question. Would a member like myself of the fire committee be welcome to attend? I mean, is this exclusive and I can't attend?
Not really public meetings, they're kind of working meetings. Space was an issue at the last meeting we were at. So I think we probably have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I think their plan is, a little bit more room than they had last time. But, as long as you're cautious of the Brown Act, you can do that. Like there were actually 3 board of supervisors there, but only 2 participated. One sat silent in the back and didn't engage, so he didn't chance the Brown Act. I think that you would be allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm not looking for this to be an alternate. I think the fire committee chair should be represented.
So, and I think that this is going to be a long process. And some of the meetings are public meetings, like the last meeting was a public meeting. And they were as such.
So these meetings are recorded, right?
No, not necessarily. LAFCO was, yeah.
So these meetings may not be recorded.
I would consider it almost, it's a working meeting.
Yeah.
Whereby you have a board representative and a staff representative
Right.
from
Okay.
each one of the agencies. And so basically what's happening is that board representative is along with the general manager, is gathering information, sitting at the table, and then they will bring back information, probably to the fire committee, at some level. So did I?
Well, that answered my question, but I am feeling more strongly in agreement with colleagues on the fire committee. Just logistically, I don't think I personally am going to be able to attend these meetings much, if at all. But I think the fire committee needs to be kind of firsthand in the loop.
So we
It would be an alternate.
yeah, and not all members will always be at the
No.
meeting. As long as it's required that, if you're a board member and you show up, it is a Brown Act violation, making comments, so that's probably a good idea. If we wanted to add the fire committee chair, not even as an alternate, to say the board president and fire committee chair, I'm fine with that. Chief, I think it's great to have more people interested in the information and being part of the process, so, especially the board.
We have so much going on in the fire committee. I'm going to be the chair for just, this year. It will be a new chair this year. And I think it's important that there be the continuity from the fire committee because of so much that's going on in that committee.
All right, do we have a motion or any more discussion?
Could you tell me what we agreed with the motion now?
So the motion would be to adopt the resolution 2019-03, resolution supporting El Dorado County efforts to improve fire district sustainability with the addition of appointing the board president and fire committee chair to represent the district. Supported by the fire chief.
Do you want to make that your motion?
I can move. Okay. I move.
Just say so moved.
So moved.
As amended, yeah.
And then.
So moved as amended.
Second?
I'll second.
Who was the second? All in favor? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That is done, and we're on to number 12. Receive and file division of occupational safety and other health medication.
So this all started last July when a compliance officer from OSHA came to the Winter Park Community Services District and inspected mostly out of our lagoon. He spent some time at the pool as well, and also did some inspections at the lagoon. The lagoon is a very old facility, and as Tina's been there for 25 years. And so there were some immediate changes that staff made with OSHA's input on that day as far as getting staff better shade and also better access to drinking water. So we made those changes immediately. We've been engaged in conversation with OSHA since that time as they gathered information about how we process workers' comp forms, 300, and things like that. A couple of weeks ago, this is coming to a head where we actually were cited for 7 violations. 3 of them are administrative and 4 of them serious. So, we're going through this process now. We just hired a new aquatics coordinator who is starting now to make sure that we're getting all of our training in, and safety is first and foremost on everybody's mind. So we're gearing up for summer early this year. Vicki and the administration staff have gathered up past documents that were not filed correctly as far as workers' comp goes, and reporting on emergency action plans and things like that. So we have cleaned up that process. The district actually had our first fire drill a couple of weeks ago. So we're all standing in the parking lot doing it easy after that. I think that it was I don't know if I ever want to say that it was a good thing, but I think that our processes improved after OSHA visited us. But our process also improved after our insurance company came out and visited us. I know that after a couple months after Mike was here, we asked our Special District Risk Management Association to come out and take a look. Fire Marshal has been here, and so we are cleaning up our processes, and it's the fines for this is over $40,000. We have started an appeal process based on the lack of resources that we're a small district and things like that. So these fines were discounted, but OSHA staff has indicated that they would work with us, and so we're in that process now. So I'm open for questions from you and the community.
Director Skilly? So these fines, which we hope will be mitigated, would those show up then in our next year's budget, or would they be paid in this year?
It's a process. It's going to take a few weeks to a couple of months before they decide. We don't have a budget appropriation to pay that, so we would have to come back to the board with a budget appropriation, whether it's in next year's budget or if it's outside of the budget process.
So, I think an important question is, we have addressed the concerns, and what changes will be made for this next summer program?
We actually, as far as on-the-ground changes, we actually already made the changes last year. Yeah. We put up it was pretty easy changes to make. We put up a pop-up canopy and some tables, some chairs that were comfortable, and there's a staff break area. So, and then the other one was that, those insulated igloos are a wonderful thing. So we actually, have a routine where we have plenty of water for the staff in chilled igloos. So.
We have 3 questions. Okay, so there was one of the administrative citations included number 3, no written emergency action plan. Could you talk about that? What kind of emergency action plan?
So emergency action plan, actually, we were actually working on this last summer after our insurer came on site. That was one of the things that was on their checklist for us. And so we actually started writing it last spring and summer. So if the fire alarm went off right now, which you all know, what to do, and, there's a little diagram over there and things like that. If, let's say, we heard shots, gunshots, what would you do in that case? And so we have an emergency action plan that addresses all of those things. Chemical spill, we've got chemicals out of the pool, what do you do in a chemical spill? So
You were in process, the district was in process.
yeah, we were in a process last summer with that. And so it hasn't been finished, but we were in process. So that is already written. I think it's a kind of a living document. I think as you know more, you add more. But we did finish that. We actually trained staff. I think the date was November 1st when we actually had a training with all of the staff.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned that the district has, did I hear that hired a new compliance coordinator? Is that right? I might have misheard. Aquatics coordinator, thank you. And so, from a preventive point of view, preventing this kind of compliance, but also preventing the kind of risks of having improperly trained staff, what, does the district have now a better sense of what OSHA rules we need to be in compliance with and other rules?
We actually designated, Debbie Horton on the staff, she works part-time for us, and she's worked in the Parks Department, and she's in administration as well. She's pretty familiar with the district operations. She's been here for a couple of years. And we started moving a lot of our claims for SCRMA to her and some other things. And so she kind of inherited safety. She's been scheduling all the target safety training that we're doing now and things like that. So we, she's our safety coordinator. And so anything safety, she is doing that. So in about 3 weeks, we're going to do a walkthrough of, we're going to pretend all to be Chief Mike Smith, and we're going to do a walkthrough and see if our closets will stay clean, our ladders are all free of things spilling in. And so I think that we sincerely wanted to have a safe place. I think it took us a while to get there, obviously, but I think that there was 10 years of stuff that we had to address, and it took us a while.
So I have to say, it makes me nervous when somebody points to one person, and Debbie is our safety person. But is Debbie, I mean, I'm glad she's doing it, but is she or you, or the insurance company, is there sort of a matrix of what OSHA rules we need to be looking at?
Yeah, everybody is. I mean, everybody is very.
So who's responsible for that?
Ultimately me.
Okay.
I mean, that's fact of the matter is ultimately me. So I would expect an OSHA visit again, during the summer, and so we have to be prepared for that. We've already reached out to the consultation side of the house with OSHA on questions that we have, and we're trying to get feedback from them. So we appreciate feedback. It takes us a while sometimes to respond because we are still in daily operations, but we appreciate the feedback. Last year, Mike got his safety certificate. Is that right? It was a day-long training safety certificate, and it was at the March event that some of you are going to. And Debbie is going to be giving that safety certificate, and they're good for every 2 years. So no, it doesn't rely on just one person, it relies on everybody.
Okay, so generally speaking, do you think by the time, would you feel comfortable if OSHA came through again in July, let's say? Feel like we have a good sense of what we should be doing and for...
I would feel comfortable if they came through now.
Okay.
Jill, part of the instructions was training. What is the training plan moving forward?
So typically, lifeguards get at least 40 weeks of training after they become certified. So they go through, they get their certification, and a lot of these are 40 hours. So this is 40 hours. After their lifeguard training, after lifeguard, once they get their certification, and some are high school students, some are college students, there's a variety of young people out there. Some of them guards for years, some of them have not. Typically, after they have their certification, there is an additional 40 hours of training prior to them walking onto this deck. And that hasn't always happened here. I think that there's been some challenges with hiring and retaining staff, and I think it was just really busy here. So we're trying to come up with a structure now that would provide support and leadership at different levels, instead of such a, head guards and aquatics coordinator. The aquatics coordinator that started just this week is a college student. She's working part-time somewhere else, and so she's working part-time for us. She's not looking for a full-time job, which is great. But she came up through the Eldorado Hills program. She's well-versed, she's connected, she asks questions, and so, and she was a part of their leadership program in Eldorado Hills. So I'm very confident that she'll come in and establish the protocol. I mean, my comment to staff has been that if we don't do it well, we're not going to do it. And that really, and for swim lessons and the aquatics program and things like that, we have to be safe. And that's really, that's really kind of the bottom line. And so we're making changes.
Any other questions from the directors? Okay, we'll go on to the public.
I would also suggest that the next time it's bloody hot out, that we close the lake and the pool and not have people working in the heat. I heard about this fence. And in fact, I called OSHA myself because I wanted to know how it got reported. And I know how it got reported, and I'll leave it at that. But in my eyes, when it's so deadly hot, which it was on that day, I just think you should close some of your moving pool and not even have anybody working out of that heat, because we have quite a heat wave.
Yeah. And I think that, I think even with the park staff, we modify work schedules if there's poor air quality, if it's a really hot day. I mean, we take steps, and safety should, and courtesy to staff as well. I mean, I just think it's being courteous to staff. And I think that there are some people that are more sensitive than others, and that's a part of the staff too. So.
Well, the aquatics coordinator too, and the general manager work together on those hot days and hot weekends and everything. Is there anybody else who has speak on that? Okay, any more discussion? Any board or student Bob? I would just like to say, I'd like to see the training plan at some sort, either brought to this board or the budget admin and move forward in the committee report. So we would see a training plan as you have.
The Parks and Rec.
Okay, perfect.
So I know this has been very stressful, staff, a lot of work, a lot of changes. Again, I think it was, the particular incident and everything that led up to it and afterwards was, again, indicative of the lack of supervision over the years. And so I'm very pleased to see the district move forward. We need to be compliant. There's no question about it. So I really appreciate the work that was done by staff. I know it's been an awful lot. It's a big hit. Yes, $40,000 is improved lot money. So thank you for taking the time to request some consideration for reductions in the fees. We can't afford that. So we'll see what happens. But good work.
Thank you. That concludes our general business, and we'll move on to board information items, general matters to and from board. Director Scoop.
I have been a very busy director. I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I attended the board meeting, just to educate myself more about other public meetings. I did not stay for all of them, but I did go and stay for about an hour, and then they went into closed session, which is kind of interesting, because they go into closed session, and they go into open session, and they go into closed session, and then open session, which we don't do that. But they also had, at the front, they did not have copies. They did not incur the cost of having copies at the desk So 2 board meetings I went to, I have not done. I'm going to go to one a month is my goal. But they just have a package of theirs that the public had to share, which I thought was interesting. And it works. I mean, nobody was using it when I looked at it, so it worked for me. I also went to the recycle workshop at EIB and met with 2 board supervisors as well. And I'll have more in a bit.
Director Wooten?
Well, it's been fairly quiet. I've had a few phone calls, and I believe one of them has already been handled. I spoke with tonight, and other than that, it's been pretty calm so far. We will see what we will see, because I have a funny feeling something else, and I'm certainly ready.
Okay.
Glad it's small. Director Morrison?
Well, for those of you that I've spoken to, I just cannot tell you how grateful I am for Cal Fire paramedics for saving my life. Took me to the emergency room, and I'm here today just because of their actions. So I want to thank our Cal Fire team from the bottom of my heart. I was well enough to attend the crab feed on Saturday. Our table bought 2 cakes and helped contribute, I think, about $600 toward the safety equipment fund. And a good time was had by all. So thank you to the explorers.
Thank you. Yeah, I was at the crab feed, had a great time, and I was sitting at a different table, and I said, who is bidding that high on cakes? My goodness, and then I found out it was Holly and her table. You got it. It was, yeah. So that was my first crab feed. I really enjoyed that. Seeing the community, what a lot of people here. It was really wonderful. And then I had a great conversation with the director of Hands for Help. I had mentioned this before, which is a nonprofit in Sacramento assigned to El Dorado County to facilitate training for recovery efforts. And that's the best I can say. And I'm going to bring this up eventually in the Fire Emergency Committee, but it looks like there's opportunity for training individuals in our community to be prepared as, I think they're called emergency core volunteers, so that they can kind of be pre-trained to shepherd other people as to what to do in case there's a recovery effort. So she was really enthusiastic and wants connections up here in the county and is really excited to connect with us as a district. So I look forward to talking about this and discussing in emergency services, fire emergency services. That's it.
You can't go yet. I'm not good.
Yes, I know.
Oh, I actually wanted to thank Jill and Holly for coming tonight because they're both. It's amazing that you guys are actually here. And I sure hope it's not catching because I don't want it.
And Jason Epperson threw his back out, so I think it's that's
yeah.
Through the wires.
Yes.
And then I also, I enjoyed the crab feed as well. And I also wanted to thank staff. I think everybody's doing a fantastic job. I just feel like as we're moving forward together, and I really appreciate that. And I also wanted to request that, or suggest, if you are interested in the changing the burn days, that bring it up in committee and start there. And then, okay, Margaret.
You know, there's no go back from here, okay?
So I wanted to say thank you to the fire department for the crab feed too. It was super fun, and I got the benefit of farmers and Holly's cake. Audrey gave me a piece, and I appreciate that. I didn't know what the rest of it was. And it was pretty. So, and then thanks to the explorers did a really great job, and I mean, they really tried hard, and I thought that was really neat. And so, thank you for that. The one thing I wanted to make a comment about, and you may notice, is the sound system in this room. We just need to eventually in the future, it's just the audio needs to reverberate. I think we should look at that for the future, it would just be great.
Sound panels would be great.
And something that would help, because it's very fun and active, but it's really hard to hear. And it's not because of anything, it's very, it's because of the audio. Director Scobie and I had a meeting with Chief of President and Lori Harmon, and we had that the other day, and just to talk about the goals and objectives of the district and our challenges that we face and what we want to accomplish, and talk to them about how the county can help. It was a really great meeting. We really felt heard, and they really wanted to know more, and they made some really good suggestions that Director Scobie and I will be talking to the general manager about, and everybody in the board here. And I think it's just a real start to a real county and CSC communication and collaboration. So we'll be reporting out more, but I think we're going to do it every quarter. We agreed, and everybody liked it, so that was a big step forward. I wanted to also let everybody know that here on the table is nominated the work plan and the strategic plan and a plan. The work plan is our tactics to what we want to accomplish. The more that we focus on these, and the more we will be able to accomplish. If we get off focus and want to do other things, but we don't have a whole lot of time. And really, these are a lot of things we're doing here does match what we're doing here, which is safety and education for fire, trying to figure out how to reduce costs, we're trying to increase revenue. There's so many things, but just keep this in mind, planning for us to review. And then the strategic plan at a glance relates to this as well as the work plan. It is kind of outdated, so at some point we're going to need to look at it. And the tactics underneath each of the objectives are outdated. So take a look, and we'll start addressing this probably in the future. But that's great. One thing that I wanted to say, and the last thing is that I had mentioned last meeting that the Red Cross is going to do a Salve alarm, which is installing the fire alarms in underserved. We were supposed to be in Cameron Park, and then it got canceled because of the campfire. This is supposed to be February 2, it's going to be in Rockland, but March 23rd in Placerville, we'll be doing installing fire alarms. So if anybody has a volunteer, let me know, and we're going to go Red Cross on the website. It's important, and I want to get them back.
Yeah, they never made it to the senior bar.
No, they didn't. They didn't because the campfire happened that weekend,
That's right.
and they opened up there.
Well, are they coming back?
They are, and I'm going to try to figure out, I thought it was going to be March 23rd, but it's possible.
You let me know.
That would be great. Yeah, it's really great. If they install fire alarms, they have volunteers to do that. And that's it for general matters to and from. Let's talk about LAFCO and Holly.
So, these past LAFCO meetings was mostly general business. There was an election of officers, but the main item was the set time for the study session on the state of fire districts in the county and assignment and alternative government models. The general manager attended, fire chief attended, and battalion chief went to the meeting as well. It's always beyond impressive to see fire representatives from the entire county in a room, and the work that needs to be done to try to figure out how we can best serve every resident in the county with the 14 different agencies that we have. So the work has begun. LAFCO has a big hand in it, which I'm really happy about. And it'll continue with the help of the CAO and the various committees that are working toward bringing some organization to big problems the county facing.
Thank you. Committee report, budget and admin. I have a question. At the last meeting, when Holly wasn't here, we nominated her to be our representative and had some questions on whether she was going to be able to do that. Did we get these questions answered?
I think you're working with Riley, right?
Yes, and I'm going to talk to Nikki tomorrow. She's in the office.
Okay.
So can you explain where we're at, because I think one of the questions is...
It's just basically updating my resume, if you will, the presentation that gets sent out to all special districts.
For the vote.
Which is what I submitted 4 years ago and was elected by the special districts. LAFCO is an interesting organization because I represent special districts, which is Elba Hill, Cameron Park, cemetery districts, fire districts, any special districts. And then the other commissioners, there are 2 supervisors, and representatives from South Lake Tahoe and City of Placerville. So it's an interesting group because they represent the entirety of the county, depending on what your community, how your community is represented, if you will. So I'll submit the updated resume tomorrow.
We were concerned because you are 2 more years here, but the LAFCO is a 4-year commitment, and so we were concerned to make sure that we could still nominate you with that note. And that's okay?
Yeah, Nikki checked it out.
We got great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so budget and admin director, Debbie.
Okay.
Let me get my notes over. Okay, for budget and admin, I would like the board of directors to know that we had a very good discussion about capital generation plans. We discussed capital, what was that term, capital revenue generating. We talked about, we had our gentleman, and he just left. Mark Harris, he's not here. And we had nice discussions with him regarding how we can improve revenues here. We talked about the endowments and other items. So we're going to continue that discussion in budget and admin, and hopefully over the next couple of months bring something forward to the board. So just letting you know. Let's see. We brought to you, the capital campaign, that's it. Yes. We also brought to you the budget calendar. It was in the staff report, but we did review that before it came in the staff report so that it could form agenda. Okay. And we actually got a status report on our budget plan of action for deficit spending that we're operating under right now that we had approved earlier. So we have an update on that, and we are proceeding pretty well on that. So that's pretty much done. Anything, Margaret?
No, I think that the biggest thing about the committee was having Mark Harris talk about the capital plan and what choices that we may have to raise a substantial fund for the district. And he started with the endowment, and he talked about how the capital plan, unless you have something specific that you can really get the community behind, it's a really hard sell to do. And we may want to look at other options to raise more larger amount of revenue. And I think it was sort of an awakening to say, okay, we just can't go out and ask the public for money, and we can't just, get an endowment, and, we have to form a nonprofit if we want to do something. So it was a good, solid discussion that we really need to look at some other options, like big dollar options, like selling the property and solar.
You might want to identify Mr. Harris.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Harris is with the Cameron Park Community Foundation. Okay, fire and emergency services, that was, Holly was not there for this
Well,
one.
I'll report on the January 23rd meeting,
Okay.
because I was there for that, both listening and I was there for that. And we had expected, and the reason that the general manager scheduled that second meeting was we had anticipated a presentation on our fire safe council. And unfortunately, Paul Gilchrist had found out about the national meeting and made a decision to attend that. So we did not speak to the fire safe council report. We did not have that report. We would look forward to still having that. And so what we did then discuss was the burn day ordinance, and we had a very good meeting and conversation. I'm looking for our guy's name. Coburn. Mr. Coburn. If you don't remember. Burn day. Right? Coburn. It sounds like he attended then the next meeting. And did we reiterate most of what? Okay, so you guys know Mr. Coburn, John Coburn, and his concept of allowing additional burn days. He had two options: allow outdoor burning in Cameron Park year-round, whenever fire and air quality restrictions permit, with the provision that the fire must be put out if the smoke from the fire is considered a nuisance by any neighbors. This is similar to the existing fire restrictions in Tuolumne County. And then the second option was each year, and that decision would be debatable. Who would make the decision? There would be an adjustment to the 2-week outdoor burn period to match current year fire and air quality conditions. This would eliminate the unburned outdoor materials that are carried over each period under the existing restrictions. In a dry spring, 2-week window could be moved up to March, and in the fall, the 2-week window could be moved into late November or early December. So those were his ideas that he presented and that we discussed and moved the conversation to the next regularly scheduled fire committee meeting, which was on February 12th.
And then we moved that forward to that meeting to January today. And then the other discussion about the fire engine weed abatement. Now, what we did have a discussion with during that meeting was Chief Mike Smith shared with us a postcard that talks about improved lots and what you need to do in order to make a defensible space and, correct me if I'm wrong, a fire-safe landscape, more or less. And so we didn't get to see that at the fire committee. And do you happen to have that today? No. And so when do you plan on sending that out?
Can we give that gift back by Friday?
So in the next week or two? So it's a postcard that will go to every single house in the district, talking about how to make your house and your landscape fire safe. So that was discussed in the meeting, and also hiring for the improvement lot. And that Chief Smith, we talked about how we would move forward with the improved lot. It's really a lot of manpower to go to every single home. but the fire department and chief has identified certain areas. And I think we need to have further discussion on when those areas are addressed. Are we going to go with a complaint basis only, or is it going to be the next target area? So I think that's the next discussion point.
So I think with Audrey and leading that charge under Chief Smith's supervision, they'll bring the recommendation forward. They're very efficient, and I have 2 new people in there, so once Audrey and trained.
So it was interesting that with the supervisor Shiva and Maureen, she was representing, we brought this up, this is the next step. And we said, wow, after taking on, right? So it's really important that I told them that basically the fire department has determined that there's areas that we focus on. They thought that was a good idea. Trying to take it all at once is probably not, and they were concerned about a fairness issue and how come they're being picked on in this first place, which you brought it up too as well. So we just need to be concerned about how we move forward with that. If there's any questions.
And I think the unapproved lots is the determination of the team of what properties would be targeted, that there wasn't any one that was better or worse, except it could be in an area that would burn more quickly because of the corner, because of open field, that kind of thing. And I think they'll use the same discretion.
So we
for
probably,
the approved lot.
yeah, we probably need to have that line just to make it clear for people who ask why. And that's just communication. And that's why I think the postcards are also really a good way to get it. I mean, believe it or not, the people do read mail.
Yep.
Because you don't get it that much anymore in the postcards.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
I was wondering if it'd be useful for the community, now that we're doing our improved lots, weed abatement, if we had some sort of like fire safe workshop. And we would have CAL FIRE perhaps, or Cameron Park Fire Department do a presentation, and we would explain those targeted areas and why, and then, we're unable to get to everybody, so we're going to start with those, try to keep those people safe in those areas that are higher risk, and then perhaps it would be well received and we get better compliance. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. You could go right after the postcard goes out. I mean, they're soon enough.
Yeah, we haven't identified the high hazard target areas yet, and this is work in process for us, but I agree with doing that. We want to build out the webpage for the fire prevention that's on the district site, and where the Audrey's going to be working with probably Nikki and getting photos on and showing what a home defensive space looks like, and links on there, the ready, set, go, and all that stuff on the poster. We're going to get on there just a click away, so people will go on the website. And then I agree with we have kind of a community thing, so hopefully we get people to come in and explain things more.
And we're going to have to decide is your budget, how to fund it.
Right.
Improve that program.
That was the fire. Ellie just walked out, I just skipped speaking there, so I'll get back to her. Parks and Recreation, Director Morrison.
So I was not in attendance, so that would be, Director Stewart.
Yeah, this isn't my job, this was Holly's job, but she was busy battling bacteria. Okay, so, for Parks and Rec, we had a very nice presentation from Eldorado Hills. We went over the Bass Lake project, and they brought in a map, and they brought in a bunch of ideas. It's very, very preliminary, but they are reaching out to all the neighbors, organizations, and agencies to get some input. And it was very interesting, and they were just soliciting input, and we took some time to talk about it, and they're talking about access and the various agencies in the process. So it's 20 years out, they're still trying to secure properties and so forth, but they're very open to any ideas, and if you want to talk to them, you should do so.
This wasn't on the agenda?
Yes, it was, item 1 on the very bottom of the page, kind of.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And we spent some time on that, that was really neat to see what they're doing. We brought to you the T-ball field that came out of committee, and Mike Graffel gave us this amazing PowerPoint presentation of all the work Parks and Rec is doing to bring our district properties into compliance with our weed abatement ordinance. And so he put up all of our properties and talking about the various approaches he's taken to manage them, and it is extremely ambitious. So hopefully we'll get that. He'll be providing updates on that. He's very, as I said, ambitious. So you can look forward to seeing that happening. Looks like we're going to be putting in some signage at County Park Lake regarding cleanup and cleaning up after your fishing line and any other that you might have. And that's pretty much how we're parking it. And the other day, we're getting something.
Would Ellie, would you talk about using
About what?
Your committee report for CCNR.
I already did it.
Okay. You did that under,
I don't have to make this work yet.
okay.
Okay. So, Solar Energy Ad Hoc Committee, Director Smith.
Well, Glenn is here, if he'd like to report out. That's why I'm here. No?
Why don't you go, do you want to go, can you stand up and introduce yourself for the board and then talk a little bit about?
Well, you don't have to, Glenn.
You do. Okay, come on up. You already stood up once.
Would you like the agenda?
Well,
I've got to say something to Mike about the ball field. The ball field looks like it favors left-handed batters, and it's very easy on center field, but not.
That's all that fits.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Glenn Ramback. Been involved in alternative energy for about 40 years. Worked in the Department of Energy. I review a lot of the programs that go back every year. Spent a career at Livermore Lab on alternative energies. I had some comments on climate change too, and the problem it creates with rule makers trying to make rules based on schedules. And climate is an averaging thing. Weather is a not averaging thing. And when you look at November versus December, this December could be like a 1960s December, or it could be like a 2030s December. You don't know until you're there. So that kind of forces rulemakers to need to put strategies in until those averages become real over the next several decades. Because right now we're in a period where it's very hard to predict. You can't predict climate, but it's also very hard to predict the steady state climate year over year for another few decades. In any event, that's solar related.
yeah.
It is energy. Were you going to say anything?
No, I was just giving you the opportunity to share since I've already been to before.
So what we'd like to hear is what you have done in the Solar Ad Hoc Committee and what.
Yeah, we had 3 meetings. We had, the meeting was first called to order on, was it January 28th, I think. And we discussed what the committee was about, trying to put together plans and look at things that we needed to understand to see how solar or energy strategies for Cameron Park, alternative energy strategies, could save money. And I've been in solar since the 70s, solar and wind and renewables, and that's when wind power was $1.50 a kilowatt hour, and solar was $2.50 a kilowatt hour, and now they're 3 cents and 5 cents, and competitive with everything else. Now that means that with the advent of with new and advanced technologies that are commercial and financing abilities. Once the technology, financing, and installers got together to then share the benefit of installing something that's very expensive to install over a period of time, and share that benefit with the user. That's why solar is really cost effective and spreading all over the place. One of the key things we did, two key things, was we last week, 2 weeks ago, Mike Grassley took us around. The committee members are, I want to make sure I get this right, Director Moore, Director Scobie, Dan Enright, who's, I guess he's not from Kimmer Park, right?
Yes, he is.
He is? Oh, okay. He's a guy from the Elks Club, correct? Elks, and they installed a system. So he was very helpful. Eric Aston.
Eric, you're right here.
You're Eric. Let's go up. And then Manager Ritzman and Mike Grassley has been phenomenal, of course. Mike took us around to all of the facilities 2 weeks ago. It was Director Scobie, myself, and Dan, and that was quite an eye-opener. We did go to both 88 and 89. We noticed that both sites have very forward-thinking and helpful people who've already done a lot of work in doing on the demand side, solving demand side problems, reducing consumption, a lot of LED lights installed and things like that where incandescents were. We need to do that here too, not only to save electricity, but also LED lights now are much more reliable than they've been in the recent past. So you can save a lot of money in terms of maintenance costs. We looked over this building extensively, this whole site, and we looked over the two fireplaces and the lake. And there was obviously a lot of things we think can be done. We're going to report up. We're going to have a meeting next month, I think March 7th, to talk that through. I think there's one thing, let's see, we'll discuss next steps, funding options, possible scope and schedule for a project. Next day after tomorrow, Friday, we're going to meet at Eldorado Hills. Eldorado Hills did a lot of installation of solar to their financial benefit, and we're going to take a look at that. We're going to help us understand how to go about that, and that's going to take us a long ways. One thing that Mike discovered was a report that was done, is it 2 years ago or 1 year? 1 year ago.
February of 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
It's a full report to Cameron Park that looked at all of our facilities and estimated the kind of installations to be done. I have a couple of pictures I brought. I didn't bring the whole report, but shows solar next to the pool and next to this building, and solar at the two fire stations, and then the related cost savings year over year, and how that would pay out over time over the next 20 years. So that's about it. Can't wait for that meeting.
Thank you. That was very, very informative. Okay, is there any questions from anybody? Oh, I can report. All right, is there anything else for the directors? And if there isn't, then we will adjourn this meeting at 9:10. Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Huh.
right, you were right.